1 minute ago, Nigel Farage just humiliated Gary Neville on live TV. Now watch this video clip.
Those awful murders in Manchester. Gary Neville, much-capped England footballer, highly paid Sky Sports presenter, said this.
The division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing. Funnily enough, on one of my development sites last week, there was a Union Jack flag put up and I took it down instantly.
Hang on a second. He's blaming middle-aged white men, the people that actually pay for Sky Sports, pay his salary. He's blaming them for all the division, not some evil, crazed, mad Islamist who went out to kill innocent people. I tell you what, this Gary Neville is so detached from reality, so detached from the average football fan, it is not true. I'm amazed that Sky Sports keep him on. What do you think?
Nigel Farage has taken a jab at football pundit Gary Neville, saying he's detached from reality after Neville shared a video suggesting that the UK is divided. Nigel Farage expressed his surprise that Sky Sports has decided to keep Gary Neville on board following his controversial comments about the Union flag after the Manchester synagogue terrorist attack. Neville, who's 50, shared a 3-minute video where he talks about why he instantly took down a Union Jack flag from one of his development sites in Manchester. Before we show you the video footage, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video.
Last night and the news this morning dominated by the horrific attacks within the Jewish community just about a mile from here, and was driving home from Salford City last night. I was driving actually to Salford City, going down a Littleton Road, seeing 60, probably 50 or 60 Union Jack flags, and on the way back I went down the parallel road, which is Berrynew Road, which has got the Jewish community right at its heart, and they're out on the streets defiant, not hiding or in fear. And I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other, and the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting. Mainly created by angry, middle-aged white men who know exactly what they're doing. Funnily enough, on one of my development sites last week, there was a Union Jack flag put up and I took it down instantly. And some people might be watching this and thinking, well, Gary, you're not very patriotic. I played my country 85 times. I love my country. I love Manchester and I love England. But I've been building in this city for 15, 20 years, and there's no one put a Union Jack flag up in the last 15 to 20 years, so why do you need to put one up now? Because quite clearly it's sending a message to everybody that there is something you don't like. The Union Jack flag being used in a negative fashion is not right, and I'm a proud supporter of England, of Great Britain, of our country, and we're championing it anywhere in the world as being one of the greatest places to live. But I think we need to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves and sort of start to think about bring ourselves back to a neutral point, because we're being pulled right and left, and we don't need to be pulled right and left at all. I've always said this about, I played in a football team with a group of people from Manchester, a group of people from Ireland, Wales, Scotland, but also people from Africa, people from Asia, people from America, people from Europe, and we were a beautiful team, united as one. Brexit has had a devastating impact on this country, and the messaging is getting dangerous, extremely dangerous. All these idiots that are out there spreading hate speech in any form and abuse in any form, we must stop promoting them. We must stop elevating our voices towards them. And it needs to stop now and get back to a country of love, of peace, of harmony, and become a team again.
In his video from October 3rd, the day after the Manchester synagogue terror attack, Neville called out what he referred to as angry, middle-aged white men who are creating divisions in the UK, urging everyone to come together. The leader of Reform UK has shared his own video in reply to Neville. At the far end of the food counter, a bunch of guys were standing there, pledging allegiance to the flag with their trays balanced in one hand just to snag a seat at the table. A group that got there earlier was singing the Star-Spangled Banner so they could use the salt, pepper and ketchup available there. Hey there, welcome to our glorious loyalty oath crusade. It's just another real-time example of how every satirical absurdity from Catch-22 has turned out to be, well, totally believable. It feels like the country is completely at the mercy of some bad players and fake outrage, doesn't it? Football really needs to step up and be a loudspeaker for all of this, reflecting the worries we still have about what we have to call the real world. It took just 8 minutes for the crowd at Wembley on Thursday night to show that they've finally moved past chanting about Keir Starmer. Instead, they started chanting, Gary Neville is a wanker. Just 2 days ago, Joey Barton, known mainly for his football career, shared a video with his 2.7 million followers on X. In it, he made a pretty shocking statement about punching a disabled person in a wheelchair if they suggested that a Union flag shouldn't be flown over a building site. Honestly, this does sound like a pretty unlikely situation, and maybe they could start by having a little chat about it first, but nope. Joey seems to want to dive right into the serious stuff, like aggressively checking if disabled folks are patriotic. It's almost like he's on an adventure, flipping over wheelchairs with the same intensity as Indiana Jones searching for Marion in a bustling market. Sometimes you end up with the heroes you really need. I've got 2 really great ideas to share with you. If someone ever tells you to take a flag seriously, you might want to be a bit wary of them. A flag is really just a bunch of colours put together. A flag doesn't really have a set meaning on its own. Flags can really lead to groupthink, making it tough to think independently. The civil rights movement didn't really have a flag that defined it. The fall of the Berlin Wall didn't come with a flag. The peace movement didn't carry a flag. It was all about flowers, hair, and a bit of that chauvinistic vibe in the mix. And, you know, there are just a few things that feel less English than waving the flag around like it's some kind of weapon. And that's why I'm really proud of Gary Neville for speaking out this week about flags. He's making a great point that insisting on English patriotism isn't really the English way to go about things. Neville definitely makes it easy for people to call him out on luxury hypocrisy. He can be a bit of a doofus and a chop, the hammer of Qatar, who's also going to work for the state broadcaster during Qatar's Propaganda World Cup. It's a real Lineker level kind of cognitive dissonance, isn't it? So in his speech, Neville really went off on a tangent, pointing out the contradictions in just about every solid stance you might want to take these days. He really should have called out acts of Islamic terrorism, which is something that folks on the left often seem to struggle with. He really shouldn't have just zeroed in on angry white middle-aged men after that double murder at the synagogue. It's also kind of a ducking of what he seemed to want to say. Let's chat about Nigel Farage for a moment. He really needs to be openly challenged. He comes off as a deeply cynical threat to how we talk about important issues. It feels like he's putting on a show, acting like a genuine person, while actually using fear and division to sway people into supporting him. I'm really proud of Neville for speaking up. It's great to see a sports person tackling this real issue in his hometown, and he's doing it with such sincerity, not backing down from the potential backlash that might come his way. This is where he belongs. He's this frustrated, middle-aged white guy who's been hanging around flags for quite a while. Despite all his easily pointed out contradictions, Neville genuinely feels it, has good intentions, and is worth a million Farages. It's easy to tell someone to just focus on sports, but the truth is this is all tied to sports. It's a space that's been heavily wrapped in flags and militarisation. Just look at that radio interview earlier this week with the very laid-back Chris Wokes, which wrapped up with "thank you for your service," as if he's been out there battling the Taliban for the past decade. It's clear that the response to Neville's video message showed he was onto something big. Before we knew it, a traitor scum banner popped up outside Old Trafford. Neville faced a lot of backlash online for some old video clips where he didn't sing God Save the Queen, which really showcased a wild moment of flag-waving chaos. The Daily Telegraph has been on a real tear for the past 4 days, and it seems like they might just be a hop away from handing out Gary Neville wicker dolls for kids to set on fire with their weekend issues. I've heard that 4 leader writers have ended up in the hospital because they were so angry. Interestingly, the same paper featured a response from Farage suggesting that Neville should be fired by his private sector employer for not wanting to fly a flag. This idea is so absurd, unpatriotic and willfully ignorant that it's hard to believe no one within this powerful realm of English free speech felt uncomfortable presenting it as a serious political message. Let's take a moment to see what Neville really said. He mentioned that the messaging is becoming risky. He mentioned that Brexit has really impacted things negatively, especially when it comes to the steel industry. He mentioned that we shouldn't let ourselves be swayed in different directions. He mentioned that we really need to put an end to promoting abusive hate speech. He mentioned that he told one of his building sites to take down a Union flag since they had never flown one before. And, you know, it's just a building site anyway. He really hit the nail on the head when he said the Union flag being used in a negative fashion is not right. It's got that classic George Orwell vibe when it comes to understanding patriotism, whether he meant it that way or not. These days, it feels like Orwell is constantly being marched around in a headlock, pulled into every debate out of nowhere. He was familiar with symbols and flags, as well as what it means to be English and the values that come with it. In The Lion and the Unicorn, a heartfelt letter backing the fight against German fascism, he mentions that not blindly waving the flag is an important part of what makes English resilience and character shine through. He talks with pride and warmth about how the working man's heart doesn't leap when he sees a Union Jack, noting that the patriotism of the common people isn't loud or even really aware. He also points out that England is, at its core, a compromise, a strange mix of reality and illusion, democracy and privilege, humbug and decency. Neville is trying to express that the best kind of freedom is when you don't care at all about a piece of fabric or the pressure of patriotic ideas. Orwell really emphasises the importance of staying alert and allowing your heritage to evolve. He believes that England needs to be authentic and that it isn't being true to itself when refugees are kept in concentration camps. Well-known Orwell had a strong dislike for sports, mainly due to how it often fuels nationalism and glorifies physical triumph. It seems he was spot on about this, especially in today's world. Back in the day, England football didn't really have flags until the 1980s, and even then you'd sometimes see them with National Front slogans on them. At the moment, the last 2 hosts of the Men's World Cup, along with the next one, are caught up in a pretty intense conflict. Orwell had a point, for sure. Sport is basically war. But with shooting involved, I've got 2 final points to mention. Neville might have a point when it comes to a more nuanced take on traditional English patriotism, but he's running out of time. It seems like the hive mind, shout politics, and algorithm-driven life have really overshadowed a lot of things. It feels like the notion that the best version of Englishness can remain separate from this is pretty outdated. Britain feels more than ever like this quirky little damp group of islands stuck right at the edge where the continents meet. But that doesn't mean it's set in stone either. In Catch-22, the Great Loyalty Oath Crusade wraps up when the mostly quiet Major de Coverley strolls into the mess hall, frowns at the ridiculousness of all the flag waving and anthem singing, and simply states, "Give everybody eat." That's when everything just kind of falls apart in its own ridiculousness. Somebody needs to speak up and keep the conversation going, no matter how messy or easy to dismiss it might be. Neville might not be our George Orwell. He's definitely a unique kind of patriot, full of contradictions, but you can't help but see him as a very English one. Thanks for watching this video till the end. Please like, subscribe and share this video. Thanks once more.